right. Welcome, everyone, to the Celtic Coach radio show where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. Our guest today, thank you so much. I got a lot of emails about this lady and a lot of great feedback from our last show. Let's talk about sex and men. So we're going to talk today, dedicated to all the lovely ladies out there. Let's talk about sex and women. And hopefully the men out there can get a little better of understanding of what the ladies are putting out in the world and how we can support them. And also some good stuff for the ladies. It's dedicated to the ladies out there. Our beautiful guest for today is the Miss Maureen McGrath. She hosts the Sunday night health show on Chorus. She is Canada's leading sexpert. She's an RN in clinical practice in the field of sexual health. And her TED Talk on the no-sex marriage, it's only gotten 14 million hits. So working on that, I'm sure. She's the executive director of the Women's Health Initiative Network, a not-for-profit organization to raise awareness about below-the-belt issues for women, such as uterine fibroids, sexual bladder, and vaginal health. She's the author of the book, Sex and Health, Why One Can't Come Without the Other. She's a recipient of the 2009 VCH Nursing Excellent Award, 2013 YWCA Women of Distinction. She's a very classy lady with a wonderful sense of humor, and that's probably because she's got a lot of the Irish gab. She is a Catholic Irish girl, and her website is backofthebedroom.ca. We can also find her blog, 50 Shades of Pink. Please help me to introduce just a beautiful, beautiful lady, the lovely Maureen McGrath. Hello, Maureen.
Well, thank you so much. Wow, I've never had quite such a lovely introduction. I'm blushing.
It's all true, Maureen. It's all true. None of it made up. How are you, Maureen?
You got to get to the gab yourself.
A little
couldn't
bit.
be better.
What are you? What have you been up to, Maureen, since we last spoke on the show?
Well, it's been a bit busy. I have to say, I've been traveling extensively, doing a number of speaking engagements about my favorite subject and hopefully one of yours, sex and relationships as well.
I had a lot of just, one of the reasons I wanted to do the show today, Maureen, was I'm kind of laughing about it now, but I had a lot of guys after the show. The last show was, let's talk about sex and men. And I had a lot of guys from my group and just people. We have people listening from all over the globe. It's very cool, actually. And it's a great show, Dermot. And then I had about 5 women email me and say, Dermot, great show, but when are you going to do a show just for women? And I thought, and about women, and I thought, okay, so I'm very honored that you could come back. I know you're a busy lady, Maureen, but I really appreciate you taking an hour out today and to just talk to us. Your TEDx talk, it only has 14 million hits on it. No sex marriage. What's with that, Maureen? It's very low.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it resonated with too many people. I think people are actually having sex in their marriages.
Apparently. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, they're not masturbating. They're not cheating. They're not watching porn. No.
Yeah, just amazing. I listened to the talk again yesterday, Maureen, and I found something. I found something that I did not hear the last time on. And by the way, if you want to listen to that TEDx talk, just go to YouTube, type in Maureen McGrath, no sex marriage, and it'll pop up. Very, very just full of just funny stuff and a lot of great information for men and women, and also teenagers out there who might be wondering, okay, what not getting the information like my. When I was in school, Maureen, I don't know, you're a Catholic girl too. The priest came in and he told us a little bit about the birds and the bees doing something with the flower, and that was it. And after that, it was, okay, go watch porn, learn what you can. Terrible.
Exactly.
So, Maureen, I'm gonna ask the biggest question, at least that I have on my list here, that you mentioned in your talk. Most brides today, ladies out there, don't have sex on their wedding night. That to me is I can't believe that, for starters. Well, why is that?
Well, times have changed. You know, a lot of couples today are living together. Certainly, there's less of religious influence on couples in terms of saving themselves for their marriage, which was never a good idea in the first place, because you can get into a lot of trouble that way, actually never having had intimate relations with your potential husband or wife, and then you can learn after you have, walked down the aisle and perhaps paid $450 million for a wedding like they're doing over in England, and having this large affair, and then realizing I'm actually not sexually attracted to my husband or wife. So it can be a big problem, but so many couples are living together today. Many women have had many different experiences with different men, and so sex on the wedding night isn't something that people are waiting for, really. But it's largely disappointing to a lot of men and a lot of women as well, because men can have low sexual desire also. And so it may be that the man does not make advances toward the women or toward the woman on the wedding night, and that can be heartbreaking.
Wow. Now, I think Hollywood might have something to do that, because they have painted this picture over the last 50 or 60 years that, you get married and it's all bliss and, sex is everywhere. And it's this thing of, we kind of get romanticized about marriage.
It does.
Yeah. Which nothing wrong. I mean, I'm big into romance and marriage.
Yes, I'm finding in my clinical practice that, surprisingly enough, people, they're looking at marriage and sex as two entirely different things. They're looking at marriage as, a checklist. They're looking for their partner. They want tall, dark, handsome, nice car, good job, from a good family, wears the right clothes, is presentable. But the intimacy piece of it, a lot of women are saying, I didn't think it was that important. Because a lot of patients turn up to my clinical practice because they are in a sexless marriage. And they realize that, or they think, perhaps I've made a big mistake here because I wasn't actually attracted to this person in the first place, or I didn't think sex was that important, and we didn't really have that much sex prior to the marriage, and I thought he was okay with that, but obviously he's not, and things can often change after the wedding.
Wow. Now, so what are some questions that people could ask themselves? Because it's a touchy subject for a lot of people in terms of, well, I know there's something wrong here, but boy, I'm not going to let anyone know. I'm not going to call a sex therapist and tell her I'm having problems, in the bedroom. Well, what would you say to people who might be thinking along those lines?
It's the most authentic life that we lead is the one that when we're honest with ourselves. And, it's such a shame that sex is such a taboo subject. And I think we Irish have contributed largely to that.
Yeah.
But other cultures have as well. So people are so uncomfortable about it. And, they often talk about, is she married? Are you getting married? Have you met anybody yet? And it's this quest for marriage. And, people really undervalue the role that intimacy and sex plays in the relationship. And it's a very important, it's not the most important aspect of a marriage, is not only having sex, but actually having great sex. And I'm so glad you're doing a sex and women show today because, newsflash, women enjoy sex. Women have sexual desire. I've heard many a woman say, I didn't think I had sexual desire. I didn't have it for my husband until I went to New York and met a guy, and, I got quite aroused, and so that's the other thing is that women are slut-shamed frequently. Mm-hmm. And so it's okay for men to enjoy sex, but it's not okay for women. Well, today, hopefully, we'll debunk that myth, that it is okay that women enjoy sex.
Yeah.
And women need to enjoy sex, and it's an important aspect of who we are and our sexuality.
Now, Maureen, this might be my ignorance, or it might be a myth, or it might be both, but I don't know. I want you to let me know. But why is it, in my head, Why is it that women do not instigate sex as much as men? Or is that true?
Women do not initiate sex as much as men do. You know, and it's not to say all women, but that's a common complaint.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in part, you know, it's complex, and there are a number of contributing factors to that. It's the life we lead today, in large part. Women are over-busy, overextended, and want to put on this show of perfection for the world. And so they have time for everything except for sex. And they're exhausted as well. And the other thing is that women report more boredom in the bedroom than men do. Men are happy to have sex with the same person for the rest of their life, as long as they're having sex. You know, they're less satisfied if it's not very good sex, and they'll complain about that, or if she doesn't initiate. If she's wildly attracted to you, she will initiate. But women often marry somebody for the institution of marriage, to say maybe they wanted children. And so there's a number of reasons why women don't initiate. They could also be extremely turned off by the angry male. They could be turned off by the large gut. These are probably two of the most common things that will turn any woman off. And the other piece of that is that women are poorly educated around sex and sexuality. And women are not educated about the female sexual response cycle. And if you don't know how something is supposed to work, you are not going to know when it's broken.
Oh, gosh, that is so true. Now, what would you say, Maureen, to the ladies out there who are with men and they got married and he looked like Burt Reynolds, in his 30s, and now he looks like, Chris Farley, and he's in his 60s. Like, there's a bit of a gut going on. The sexual attraction, the physical attraction, has diminished. Or what do you say to the ladies who are like, well, I'm not attracted to him anymore?
You've got to live in your truth. And it's not an easy conversation to have with your partner, because we, as human beings, we're nurturers, especially women. We care about people. We don't typically want to hurt somebody,
sure,
especially
yeah.
somebody that we love or we've been committed to for a long time. But it's important to have that conversation. And by the same token, I think it's extremely important that people look after their health and take care of themselves, in every aspect of it. It's the same as if you were a diabetic. You would need to, if you're type 1, need to take insulin, you need to be under a doctor's care, or type 2, you need to start exercising. You need to eat a healthy diet, low glycemic index diet. You need to take care of that. Letting yourself go is one of the biggest turnoffs for your partner, your lover, somebody you're in a relationship with.
In your clinical practice, because you see a lot of couples in your clinical practice, and
yes.
I'm wondering, because the ladies, I mean, if you say to the guy, "Hey, the gut's got to go," I don't know. For me, I'd fall apart. What would that conversation sound like? I mean, if the ladies were to say, "Hey, listen, you put on a few pounds, and I don't feel like jumping the bones right now, or haven't done," because the men are going to be thinking, "Well, what's going on here? We're not having sex, and I haven't done anything, and doesn't notice, the extra tire." So, what would that conversation sound like if you were to give some advice to the ladies of how to approach that conversation?
Well, any advice, any tough conversation, I generally will say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. And so that's the basic tenet of the conversation. However, the conversation typically goes like this in a sexless marriage. We haven't had sex for whatever period of time. She hates sex. She's never liked sex. It's been, this particular length of time that we haven't had sex. She's never going to want to have sex. And so they put the blame on the partner, especially if it's a heterosexual couple, and the man is the one who is complaining about the low sex. And so I often will see the couple together, and then I will see them separately. And she may say, he's gained 60 pounds since we got married, and I'm not attracted to that. We are visual beings, especially in terms of sexual attraction. It's what we see that we are attracted to. That's why today people can be so attracted to somebody that they've met online because they're attracted to their picture. And then if you add, some humorous commentary in terms of texting or even some, playful sexting, you can actually be quite attracted to somebody that you've never met.
Yeah.
You might be largely disappointed when you do meet them because people aren't typically honest or fully honest. But the conversation is really, being respectful and saying, starting with, I care about you, I love you, and there's a lot about you, but, I would appreciate it if you took care of yourself better than you are. I'm concerned about your health, and, having a gut like that is unhealthy. It shows me that you don't have respect for your own body, and you're wanting our bodies to be intimate together. And, and you often see this, especially if the woman is in tip-top shape or really takes care of herself, or vice versa. I have a couple in my clinical practice where he's in amazing shape, and his wife doesn't get off the couch. And so, but the conversation has to be respectful and loving, and that's why it sounds trite, but communication is key.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be screaming at somebody, you've got to, lose weight, or when they're going for that bag of M&Ms, as I just did. I wouldn't want somebody to scream at me, don't eat the M&Ms, now, because I've already eaten them.
I totally agree with what you've said there, because in my coaching practice, and I coach a lot of men, I know just physiologically we are visual beings, men and women. We think in pictures. Don't think of the pink elephant riding the blue bicycle. We think in pictures, and I often coach men around this, but one of the things that I see is that the men are very scared to even bring that conversation up with the ladies around, hey, you've put on a bit of weight, or whatever that conversation is.
Typically it doesn't bother, but it doesn't bother the man as much as it bothers the woman, interestingly enough. So for men, women have more concerns about body image, but men can have concerns about body image as well. They might feel that they're too heavy, or they're not muscular enough, or they're too skinny or lanky or whatever. But typically for men, as long as they're having sex, they don't notice that added pad on your thigh that drives you crazy.
Yeah. Or,
cool sculpting is becoming so popular today, just automatically taking or reducing people's fat by 20% are the promises. But so men are not as disturbed by heavier women as women are by men's added weight, especially around the gut.
Yeah. What do you say to
the other thing is if,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if men take that weight off the gut, their penis will enlarge.
Is that a fact?
It's an absolute fact, because when you look down and you've got a gut in front there, it looks about 2 inches. You take that gut off, and you definitely can grow by 2 inches.
And for all the men listening, the erectile dysfunction, it could be, I heard it in your talk this morning, could be signs of heart disease, cardiovascular heart disease, diabetes.
Yep.
Yeah, so something to think about.
Hypertension, it's the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
And, if you have a large gut, you're less likely, that's a blood flow issue as well, or it'll impact your blood flow.
Oh, yeah.
And erections are about blood flow. And so, I have a lot of guys coming into my clinical practice, too. This is a woman's show, but that's going to be the last I talk about the guys. But they'll come in and they have erectile dysfunction, but they're overweight, and they are drinking beer every day, and they have a high glycemic index diet, and they're sedentary. So you change all that, and no medication, these guys can get erections, because that's another turnoff for a woman, is when a guy cannot have an erection. Nobody wants to have sex with a flaccid penis. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What? How do you work with women that come in to your practice, Maureen? And again, I'm not blaming Hollywood, but boy, oh boy, the amount of marketing to having the perfect body. And when I look at these models on television, it's like, God bless them, but if they turn sideways, I wouldn't see them. Like really skinny. And,
Right.
and we're getting these pictures that, hey, this is what's normal. And boy, it's not even close cosmically to being normal. What do you say to the ladies who look at their bodies and think, oh, I'm not beautiful, I'm not this, I'm not that?
You know, the first person you need to love before you can love anyone else is yourself. And your relationship with your body is related to your relationship with food, with your upbringing, the messages that are in your head. You know, it's accepting you for who you are and the body that you have. And it's, you know, all one can do is eat healthily, make sure they're getting enough sleep, you know, don't overdo it on any one substance, and really learn to love themselves. Meditation helps quite a bit. Mindfulness can be brain-changing for many women that have those negative thoughts in their head. You know, and it can really prevent them from having a loving and great relationship. But, you know, it depends if it's related to what they've presented to my clinical practice with, whatever issues. And women present to my clinical practice with a number of issues. And it might be around painful sex or low sexual desire or anorgasmia, the inability to experience an orgasm. Sometimes it's education that is needed around that, or a little estrogen in the vagina that is needed because hormones fluctuate for women, especially at different times. They may want to get their mojo back. They may be living with somebody who has a substance use and abuse problem. So it really relates to however they present clinically, and it can be a part of the picture. And they don't necessarily present with body image issues, but they might present with another issue, and then body image is related to that. But low sexual desire will often be related to body image issues, like you know, women who will not take their pants off for sex, women who will not take their shirt off for sex, women who prefer to have sex in the dark always, women who don't want particular areas of their body touched, such as their abdomen. That's a very common area where women don't want to be touched because they feel that it's too big. So, you know, it really ties to what the problem is. And, you know, people have to take control of their lives, and they have to admit to, you know, they have to stand on the scale sometimes. You know, women will say, I weigh 175 pounds. They stand on the scale, they're 225. You know, it can creep up, and, you know, it's a lot harder for women to lose weight than it is for men.
Well, you know, let's talk a little bit about the mojo, since when we get the mojo for women. Now, interesting on your TEDx talk there, the no sex marriage, you were talking about women when they're, you know, if they want to get their mojo going, all they need to do is either see another woman take interest in their man, or when they're pregnant. But after they have a child, that sexual desire decreases. Could you talk a little bit about why that is, Maureen?
Sure. You know, and it's actually not when some women will experience an increase in their libido when they are pregnant. But what will increase sexual desire in a woman is her desire to have a baby. So I have a couple in my practice, and, you know, they will have been in a sexless marriage, and then she's just decided that they want to have another baby, and so they had a lot of sex around that time, and then it fell off after she got pregnant and then after the baby was born. There's an ulterior motive there, because sex isn't viewed as something for the woman. And when I say to women, sex is for you too, I mean, I've realized that that's one of the most profound things that I can say to a woman, and I am stunned at that so many women do not realize that sex is for them, because women have been largely educated to service men. And so it's, you know, he needs it, he needs to have it, biologically men need it. Women often don't know what they're missing out on. And so that's why lovemaking needs to be mutual and consenting, reciprocal. It's, you know, it's a health benefit, it has tremendous health benefits for women. You know, women are taught don't touch down there. It's dirty. They're given different names, flower, mimi, hoo-hoo, instead of saying clitoris, vulva, vagina. Many women have never felt down there. They've never looked down there. They don't know, you know, what it's supposed to look like. Many women have issues around what their vulva looks like. And so, we have a huge upsurge in plastic surgery in terms of, altering what a woman's vulva looks like. And no two women are going to have the same vulva, but that can actually impact, their dating game. They can feel less confident because of that. So women need to understand that, it's okay to have mojo, but, it's a process, and you need to touch yourself and understand what feels good for you so that you can communicate that to your partner.
Now, let's talk about that, because and I've forgotten whether I've asked you this or not, but do women masturbate as much as men? Like let's say outside of, let's say in the relationship.
Absolutely. Women will present with low sexual desire, but they still self-stimulate. They still masturbate.
Yeah, when they're in a relationship,
and
right?
Commonly.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon?
In relationships, too.
Absolutely. They will. They will be in a relationship. They will have low sexual desire. They do not want to have sex with their partner. Fatigue is the number one reason for low sexual desire in a relationship, but they will masturbate.
Yeah.
I would say it's about 100%. It's probably, nothing's ever 100%, but it's probably 90, 95% of women. Do women masturbate as much as men? Probably not. We cannot keep up with you guys. Okay.
It's a competition thing.
That's really that's all you do besides watch sports. Okay, drink beer and masturbate. So, but women certainly do masturbate, but we don't talk about it. That's the problem. So there's this whole big secret, this secret shame. In fact. Yeah. A lot of people have shame around masturbation. I would say more men have shame around masturbation than women do.
Oh, really?
But certainly, yeah. Oh. From the questions that I've been asked, and I continue to get questions about, how much is too much masturbation. I masturbate every day. Is that okay? I masturbate twice a week. Do you think that's too much? I've been taught that masturbation is a terrible deed, or a lot of men who've said, "I've stopped masturbating. That's it. I learned it was bad, and I'm not going to do it anymore." So I get, I never hear that kind of thing from women.
Wow, Maureen, we're going to take a quick minute break here, and we'll be right back to you. I want to talk to you about. This is something that when I heard you talk about it on the TEDx talk, I thought I've got to ask. 10% of people check their smartphones during sex.
Got it.
Anyway, well, I want you to talk about that when you come back. We'll be right back. Everyone, just stay tuned. We're going to play our little happy-go-lucky Irish music. We're here with Maureen McGrath. Please stay tuned. Lots more to come. Welcome back to the Celtic Coach radio show, where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. If you want to get a copy of the show today, you can email me at thecelticcoach@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of our talk today. Let's talk about sex and women. We're here with the lovely, classy, and sometimes sassy host of the Sunday Night Health show on Chorus Radio. She's the executive director of the Women's Health Initiative Network. Just all around wonderful lady. Also, you can pick up a copy of her book, Sex and Health, Why One Can't Come Without the Other. I love the title, Maureen. All right. Maureen, we're back with you. Why is it that 10% of now, is it 10% of women or 10% of men that check their smartphones, or is there?
It's 10% of both, and it's probably higher now. We're living in a digital world, and that's what life has become. And digital technology is entering the bedroom at breakneck speed. In fact, it's probably going into the bedroom a lot more than some spouses are. People are bringing their iPhones to bed. They're bringing their iPads to bed. They're bringing their computers into bed. And because it can be an addiction for sure, but it's stimulating. It too can be arousing. And somebody needs me. I've got to answer this email. I've got to perform at work. We're never having any time to reflect these days when the digital, when we're connected, and we're seemingly constantly connected, and it's definitely going to impact our intimate lives, and it's going to continue to do so, even more so.
Now, I could be way off here. I'm Irish, but I'm thinking that one of the person checking the phone, the other person is not too happy about this, or is this like a joint thing?
Not happy at all, but you know what we're seeing more commonly is both people are bringing all of that technology into the bed with them. And you see it in restaurants. And so what you see in restaurants, you see in the bedroom. So if you see a couple connecting eye to eye, holding each other, touching each other, it's a rare sighting these days. Mostly what you see is two people on their iPhones, disconnected from one another, connected to the Internet, disconnected from their children as well. So this can really have a negative impact, not only on relationships, but on families. And so we're more commonly seeing two people side by side, whether they're sitting on the couch on a Friday night or lying in bed, they are on their iPads, their computers, their iPhones. And so intimacy goes, by the wayside.
But during sex, Maureen.
During sex. Well, you know what that says,
Can't believe it.
And this is what I thought you were going to say as the Irish guy. You know what? It also underscores how bored people are in the bedroom.
Jeez.
And of course you're going to get bored in the bedroom. If you've been poorly educated around sexuality and also given negative messages that it's dirty as opposed to that it's fun, you're not going to be inclined to explore and try different things and, dress up or get into other types of fun, playful ways to express your sexuality, to take it to the next level, to, toss ideas by one another about, would you be interested in that? How about if we try this, anal sex? I guess I said anal sex and we got the the trumpet. No, so
if I had a trumpet, I'd blow it for you.
Well, it just did on my end.
Oh.
I guess you didn't hear that. But so the less we're educated around sex, the less we're made to feel that it's something that's good for us and that it's healthy and that, it's acceptable and that we think about sex as part of marriage, or when you're thinking about marrying somebody, you really need to marry the person that you are sexually attracted to. That has to be first and foremost versus their bank account or their potential to earn money or how they can balance a checkbook or if they might likely be a good mother or a good father or because your biological clock is ticking, so you marry the alcoholic because there was nobody better. We really have to think and wait for that right person because there's not one lid for every pot. There's several lids for every pot. You can be attracted to different people, and that can be arousing. You can look at somebody else and think, I'm attracted to them. I'm going to bring that back to my own bedroom. And that's the piece that you saw in the TEDx talk that said when somebody else, you kind of be bored with the guy that you've been with for 20 years, you again, kind of a thing. But then you go to a party and somebody else is interested in him, all of a sudden he looks more attractive to you.
Yeah. What have you found most surprising, Maureen? How long have you been a sex educator?
About 14 years or so.
Yeah. And
I've done sex research as well.
What would you say is still the most surprising thing for you around sex with people?
This I've never forgotten. We did a sex research study on hypoactive sexual desire disorder in women. So low sexual desire in heterosexual women who were in a relationship longer than a year, who were committed to their partners, who loved their partners and wanted to stay with them, but had no desire for sex. And so when I interviewed those women, they all said to me, and honestly, I feel like I can say 100%, these were women who had not had sex with their male partners that they were married to for 8 months, 4 years, a decade, 7 years, 18 months, all varying degrees of it. And they all said, but my husband is patient. And I thought, wow, who are these guys? Anyway, but of course you can't say that. You're doing a research study. But I was amazed by the fact that all of these women said, my husband is patient. Because typically, when in a sexless marriage, there are risks to a sexless marriage. Well, a few years later, I did another research study around sexless marriage, and I was interviewing lots of men. You know, we're interviewing hundreds of people for these studies, okay? And so the men had all been in sexless marriages where the wife had low sexual desire, had no interest in sex, and all of the men had gone outside of the relationship. They all felt terrible shame about it. You know, all, I say, for the most part. But, you know, so I realized these men weren't patient, you know. Those men that those women referred to, their husbands, they actually were not patient, which is what the research supports. But that goes to show you how disconnected people are, how almost clued out, and how they're not communicating with one another. I mean, I see patients in my clinical practice, they've been together for 30 years. They've had no sex or lousy sex for 30 years. And I think, why did you stay? And I'll ask them that, and they'll say, well, I made a commitment to my wife, to my family, to God, to my community. Mm-hmm. You know, divorce is frowned upon. Of course, we know that in Ireland for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, people aren't true to themselves. And I think, you know, do you actually think people really even know that you're living, number one? You know, at the end of the day, nobody's really going to care. Do you not feel that sexuality is important for you? You know, and often it's a power play in the relationship, and it's a power shift. But oftentimes it's, you know, people will put up with the misery, you know, for a long time, and they'll often say to their wives, well, what if I go and have sex with a prostitute? And because they think, well, that way, because they'll say, I don't want an emotional relationship with another woman. I want a sexual relationship with somebody. And if my wife isn't willing to be sexual with me, then a prostitute will be. So, and then the wife will get upset. You know, she'd say, I would kill you if you ever cheated on me. But, you know, it begs the question, is it fair to impose fidelity on a person who is deprived of sex from their spouse? And when that person has an affair, must we call it cheating, or is it merely survival?
Mm. Wow.
And you know, I don't want to forget to mention, though, that there is a whole gaggle of women that are rejected. And I use the term rejected because I learned that from my patients when I said, well, when you're in a marriage where a man doesn't make, you know, I said, I don't want to use the term rejected, but when a man doesn't make advances on you. And she said, no, use the term rejected. She said, it's so much more accurate. And she said, it is so, it's such a negative aspect of a relationship, or it's tragic almost, because women feel less beautiful. And they've reported this to me. They don't feel attractive. They feel there's something wrong with them. They feel that they're too fat, or maybe he's having an affair, or they feel that they're not good enough. It hits at their self-esteem. The accepted notion in the world is that all men want is sex. And so here they are, lying next to a man that they would have sex with every night, and he has no sexual desire. He doesn't lay a hand on them. He doesn't make any advances. And so there are so many women that are silently suffering out there. And I knew that they existed, but I didn't know to what degree until after I did that TEDx talk and received numerous emails, and continue to do so, emails and messages on Facebook and LinkedIn of what about when you're with a man and he doesn't want to have sex with you? It's not just low sexual desire found in women. We also see it in men, and that really impacts women's lives and women's sense of femininity and who they are, and it's heartbreaking.
What suggestions, Maureen, would you give to the ladies out there who are in that situation?
Just go out there and get it any way you can, sister. No, I'm kidding.
I just played Aretha.
I'm mostly sassy.
I've been playing all women's songs all day long, and I just played Aretha Franklin and Annie Lennox. Sisters are doing it for themselves.
Right, exactly. Well, good point. Excellent point. A lot of women don't have anyone in their life, and I recommend the Womanizer. It's the best sex toy out there. It's the only one I actually provide for women in my clinical practice, or prescribe for women. It treats primary anorgasmia. Many women have never experienced orgasm in their life, 2/3 of women. Many women take a long time to experience orgasm. This can be used by yourself or with a partner. It's different than a vibrator. It's a clitoral suckling device. Mm-hmm. It works every time. You can have multiples and varied, and you can learn how to orgasm. A lot of women don't actually know how to experience orgasm, and it's a bit of a craft. You need to practice.
Now,
for women who...
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you think that would be okay for the man to buy that for the woman and then bring it into the bedroom, or would that be odd?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the best gifts a man can buy a woman, to be honest with you. It honors her sexuality. It honors her femininity. It honors her independence. It actually underscores mutuality and reciprocity because, lovemaking between two people, anyway, is a two-way street. It's not a service. It's not one way. It's not, I hear a lot of women say, I serviced him, got it over with, went to sleep. It's sad. So I actually believe that it's a beautiful gift because it says, you experiencing orgasms in your time, at your pace, mm-hmm. In your place is, I respect that. And so I think it's a great gift. And it also can open up the conversation that, a lot of, I hate to say it, but a lot of men are clueless and are not, may not know how. They might be clumsy lovemakers. They don't understand the importance of pleasuring a woman. And so this can help with the conversation. This can help with, improving things in the bedroom. A lot of women may take, upwards of 20 minutes to experience an orgasm. And, some women have said, I feel so badly that, I'm with my partner and he's on his elbow and, like resting his arm because it's, taking so long. The Womanizer can help that.
Now, it's not a substitute for a penis or foreplay, is it?
This is the most common question that I get from men, because men can be threatened by sex toys, okay? You're showing you're Irish now.
God, I thought that was unique, that question. Apparently, wow.
Oh, are you kidding? No, because men can be threatened by sex toys, and they think I'm not good enough, or especially if they're experiencing any degree of erectile dysfunction, because then they can be embarrassed by that or ashamed. Mm-hmm. And absolutely not. It just it can enhance activities in the bedroom. It can improve intimacy. There's nothing like watching your partner being pleasured and experiencing that tremendous pleasure in her life. And so men should not be threatened by that. Men should welcome that. Yeah. There's a whole lot of bravado going on in the world of men. And we have a large gap between the ego and how they actually, this gap between, they can behave, in an egomaniacal way and actually have an inferiority complex. And so you really want to decrease that gap. And so having that confidence to say, whatever it takes, how can I support this? How can we make sex good for both of us in the bedroom or outside of the bedroom? Because, sex in the bedroom isn't the only place to have sex. So there are many, many places, and that can be arousing as well. That's why affairs are often so exciting, because they're covert, you're sneaking off, it can be extremely exciting. And so, changing up the place that you have sex, not necessarily having it at the same time every day, bringing, sex toys into the bedroom, all of this can enhance an intimate life. And actually just doing it is probably the best advice. It works for women because women respond to, responsive desire. Women, so they don't really feel like having sex, but when they do have it, they enjoy it. So we call that responsive desire. For men, for those men who have low sexual desire, it can be any one of a number of things. They may not be expressing their sexuality true to themselves. So, I had a patient yesterday. She said, I think my husband is gay. They were in a sexless marriage. He never made any advances. And there were a few other things that she thought maybe, he took a little bit more of an interest in men than in a certain way. So it can be that a man is gay, and he would be terribly shamed. In fact, this man would be terribly shamed by his family if he were. Yeah. And also it can be low testosterone. It can be erectile dysfunction. It can be unresolved conflict, because, men have a lot of challenges actually talking about their feelings and actually trying to express. We see it come out in anger. And, so there can be, men can be sensitive too. Men can get their feelings hurt. But if they don't tap into that and they don't realize that or understand that. So there's a number of reasons why men would have low sexual desire in a heterosexual relationship when they're living true to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to go back to what you said there earlier about men being clueless, I mean, I agree with you, and that's not a judgment.
Did I say that?
Yeah, in terms
I'm sorry to all the men out there.
Don't apologize, Maureen. Don't apologize. Listen, I was clueless until because we get married, right, and we're meant to somehow all have become a Latin lover. And we haven't actually educated ourselves or learned anything, but overnight we're supposed to be, Julio Iglesias or something with a penis on steroids. And it doesn't happen. It's like, well, no, I need to actually go out and, learn about how to make love. I mean, we all know how to straightforward make love. But, spark it up and do different things and bring in toys and do all of that stuff. I mean, I had to educate myself about that, Maureen, for years and still am. And I'm a bit obsessive.
But that conversation, it's an important point that you make. It's not exclusively for a guy to go and learn on his own. Because I've heard so many women say, my husband is a horrible lover. And they're afraid to say that to him.
Oh, gosh.
That, just every action of his turns them off.
Aww.
Because he just doesn't have the moves, if you will, for lack of a better term. But you know what? They're missing some of that sexual chemistry, because when there's that animalistic, that primal attraction, things can fall into place, and people don't necessarily realize that. That's why there's not as much of an importance placed on sex than I think there should be, or we'd have more satisfied sex lives in the world, and also. What happens to men sometimes is when they get married is they have this sort of Madonna whore complex where which is developed by Freud, and where it's, she's the mother of my child now or my wife.
Yeah.
So and I've heard many men say this, that have had sex with prostitutes their entire lives. They had too much respect for the woman in their life, so they couldn't actually perform in the bedroom, or they didn't want to enhance their relationship or improve upon the relationship because they couldn't get it out of the head that she was the wife, the mother role, that, otherwise they would have perceived her as a slut, as a whore. So that can also be a reason for a man not making advances toward his wife.
Yeah, wow. God, just great stuff, Maureen, great stuff.
Complex.
It's complex, yeah, but at the same time, it's simple too. I mean, if we were to simplify this down, Maureen, for the ladies out there, what is it the ladies want most in a relationship with a man?
I'm not sure that they necessarily know what they want. I think for those women who go for somebody with the right job or a certain annual income or a certain look, they're not necessarily going to be happy. What we love often, too, at the beginning about somebody can drive us crazy later. If we love the fact that they're organized and you're not, then, the fact that they can never, change up the routine or go outside of, this obsessive-compulsive, everything has to be in order, can't change a plan, that might drive us crazy 10 years down the road. Choose well the person that you're going to stay the rest of your life with or have sex with the rest of your life. And, and understand that sex is for you, and it's important to be sexually attracted to somebody. I mean, I'm hearing that so much lately from women. They're just like, well, he was the best I could do, or I didn't really feel that great about myself, or I thought he would make a great father. And, that drives a lot of women to marrying men. And I feel badly for men sometimes that they have been kind of hoodwinked into this particular situation. But for women, it's really know that sex is important. And yes, if you marry somebody, for the most part, they're going to want to expect to have sex. several times a week for a long time. The other thing is many people navigate open relationships. They never work. From what I've seen, there's always trouble because we're human beings. We have emotions. We have jealousy. We have envy. And it doesn't work out the way we want to. And there's so much to navigate around it, things that pop up that you would never expect. So, just knowing about yourself for a woman, understanding the female sexual response cycle, desire, arousal, lubrication, excitement, plateau, orgasm, it's important. Many people will tell you an orgasm's not important. That is not true. It's extremely important. There's no other reason for the clitoris and all of the nerves there. It's for pleasure, and women deserve that.
I'm gonna echo that. Women deserve that. Maureen, just as we start to bring our conversation, I could talk to you all day. Could you kind of take a moment and just think about from what we talked about today, and just from your own experience in your clinical practice, could you and also I want to give you an opportunity at the end to tell people where to get the Womanizer, because we just talked about it, we never told them. So I want to make sure we get that. So please remind me if I forget. But if you could just take everything that from your clinical practice and share with what is it you want from our talk today. What do you want women to walk away with from this talk? What do you want them to hear most?
That there is help, they don't have to go this alone. If they are having issues with any aspect of the female sexual response cycle or in their relationship, there are strategies, there are tools, there are techniques, there are toys that can help you, that you deserve to have this very good sex life, and that you can get there. You can actually get there, but you may need some help, and there's so much research going on, especially in Canada, around women's sexuality. We need more, but there are strategies. You're not alone. You are not the only person who has had some of these feelings or thoughts. There's nothing to be ashamed about. And, you can speak in privacy and confidentiality to somebody. So just like any other health issue that can occur, there are health issues that occur around a person's sexuality, that may occur around their sexuality. And there are a number of strategies available for women to get the pleasure they deserve.
Beautiful. And I also want to echo, Maureen, something you said earlier that I really connected to. Having these tough conversations, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. I think that's some really beautiful wisdom there. All right, let's fit. Where can we get the Womanizer?
You'll want the Womanizer. It's on my website, backtothebedroom.ca, so you can order it there. And that's working on getting it into some stores, so which is tremendous progress. But for now, on my website, backtothebedroom.ca. You can also contact me on my website. There's a contact form, or if people want to talk to me, I also have a phone number on there that people are often surprised when I answer on the other end. But I've learned so much from patients and from people about their lives. So many people have shared their intimate lives with me in one way or another, and I value that, and I have tremendous respect for that, and I'm terribly grateful. And so I have so much gratitude around that I want to give back. And, sometimes people need to hear that voice on the other end of the phone, or they would rather just email. So there's lots of different ways to reach out for help, and if I can't help you, I'll point you in the direction where you can get help. So, don't be shy. It's important stuff in your life. It can make or break your life.
Now, where can people hear you have the Sunday Night Health Show.
Yes.
Where can they listen in on that, Maureen?
Well, it's on the Chorus Radio Network, and it's actually in Vancouver, and it's in Calgary, Edmonton, and Winnipeg. But you can go to cknw.com, hit listen live, or Chorus Radio, 8 to 10 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, on a Sunday night. Mm-hmm. and just hit listen live, or they can go to iTunes. I have all of my programs. I've been on the air for 6 years now on this show, and we talk about sex and health. And so all of those episodes are up on iTunes. They're a free download on iTunes, so you can just go iTunes Maureen McGrath, and it should pop up. So there's many different ways to listen. I often post on LinkedIn, so people are more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or invite me on LinkedIn. They might hear a thing or two and then uninvite me, but, that's okay as well, as long as they get something out of it. But I'm also on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, and, so I'm out there, and of course on Twitter at @2 the bedroom.
Beautiful. Maureen, it's always an absolute pleasure. And I really hope that all the ladies listening today, got something that is useful from our show today. And I just want to thank you, especially Maureen, for making the time. I know you're pretty busy, so thanks very much for taking the time to come on the show, and wishing you all the best and lots of love to you, Maureen.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for continuing this conversation. And I hope people got something as well, especially the women. And if not, they can email me or reach out in any one of the number of media ways. Wonderful.
Wishing you all the best, Maureen. We'll talk again, Maureen.
Thank you, Dermot, so much. Have a wonderful day.
Cheers now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everyone, you've been listening to the Celtic Coach radio show, where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. That was the beautiful and lovely and classy Maureen McGrath, host of the Sunday Night Health Show on Chorus. You can also pick up a copy of her book, Sex and Health, Why One Can't Come Without the Other, or you can check out her website at backofthebedroom.ca. She also has a blog on there, 50shadesofpink.ca. If you want a copy of the show, you can email me at thecelticcoach, CELTIC, thecelticcoach @gmail.com, and I'm happy to send you a copy of the show. So please don't think, oh, he's so busy. Send me a brief email, say, Dermot, may I have a copy of the show, and I'll send it to you. And please email me back and let me know what you thought about the show and how it helped you. That's always really nice, and I'm happy to share those comments. I'll send them on to Maureen as well. All right, everyone. That's our show, and I certainly had a wonderful time, Maureen. Stay tuned. There's more coming up, and on the second part of the show, let's play some happy Irish music. You're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show, where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. Every Friday, we're here on KOWS.FM, the world's greatest, and I do mean the world's greatest radio station. All right, cheers, everyone.